April 10, 1890. Tombstone, Arizona. Two cowboys encounter a bird so massive, so impossible, that its wingspan was measured at over 160 feet. They shot it down, they photographed it, and then the evidence vanished. But the legend? The legend is thousands of years old, and it's still being seen today. Welcome to Animal Channel Space. Hit subscribe, because this story gets darker than you think. Before we dive into the sightings, the evidence, and the theories, we need to understand what we're actually talking about. The Thunderbird is not just one legend. It appears across dozens of Native American tribes, from Alaska to the Great Plains to the Pacific Northwest. And here's what makes it fascinating. Despite being separated by thousands of miles, the descriptions are remarkably similar. So what exactly is a thunderbird? According to Native American tradition, thunderbirds are massive, supernatural birds of prey. Some describe them as eagles, others as condor-like creatures. But one thing is consistent: their size. These aren't just big birds. We're talking wingspans of 20 to 40 feet. Some legends claim even larger. For perspective, the largest bird alive today, the wandering albatross, has a wingspan of just 11 feet. But the truly terrifying part: their power. Thunderbirds were said to create thunder by flapping their wings. Lightning shot from their eyes or beaks. They could carry off whales from the ocean. They battled underwater serpents. They were protectors, but also destroyers. Different tribes had different names. The Lakota called them Wakiya, the Ojibwa, Anamiki, the Algonquin, Benesi, Pacific Northwest tribes, Kwati. But the message was the same. These were not creatures to mess with. Now, you might be thinking, cool mythology, but obviously not real, right? Well, stick around, because in just a minute, I'm going to show you a photograph that has puzzled researchers for over a century. And the sightings, they never stopped. Let's talk about that photograph I mentioned. April 26, 1890. Tombstone, Arizona. Yes, THAT Tombstone, the same town as the OK Corral shootout. The Tombstone Epitaph newspaper published an article that would become legendary, according to the story. Two cowboys, whose names vary depending on the source, encountered a massive winged creature in the desert. The descriptions are disturbing. Wingspan, estimated at 160 feet. Body length, 92 feet. Wings, smooth, and brain-like. Not feathers, but leathery like a bat head, 8 feet long. They claimed they shot it down after a long chase, pinned it to a barn wall, and took a photograph with the entire town. And here's where it gets weird. Hundreds of people claim to remember seeing this photograph. Online forums are filled with people describing it in detail. The bird pinned to a barn, wings stretched out, cowboys standing beneath it looking tiny by comparison. People remember it from books, from schoolrooms, from magazines, but the photograph doesn't exist. At least not anymore. Every search has turned up nothing. It's called the Lost Thunderbird Photo, and it's become a mystery within a mystery. Was the photo real and lost? Was it a hoax that was destroyed? Or is this a case of mass false memory? The Mandela effect on a massive scale? We may never know, but that's far from the only sighting. 1940s. Illinois. Multiple witnesses reported seeing enormous birds, wingspans estimated at 15 to 20 feet. One incident involved a bird attempting to carry off a young boy named Marlon Lowe in Lawndale, Illinois. In 1977, the boy's mother watched in horror as the bird lifted her son several feet off the ground, before he managed to break free. The family was traumatized. Investigators found no evidence of a hoax. And the description? Massive black bird, huge talons, silent flight. Sound familiar? Fast forward to modern times. 2002, Alaska bush pilots report birds as large as small airplanes. 2007, Pennsylvania, multiple witnesses describe a prehistoric-looking bird near Route 119 in 2018. Chicago, a wave of sightings around O'Hare Airport of massive, man-shaped flying creatures with red eyes. Could these be related? The reports never stopped. They just evolved. So if thunderbirds are real, and that's a big if, what are they? Stay tuned, because we're about to explore every theory, from the scientific to the absolutely insane. Alright, let's break down the possibilities. What could explain thunderbird sightings? I'm going to present 5 theories, from most scientific to most laissez out there. And honestly, each one has problems. Theory 1. Misidentified known birds. The skeptic's favorite. Maybe people are just seeing large, but totally normal, birds. The California condor, for instance, has a wingspan of up to 10 feet. In the right lighting, at the right angle, could it seem bigger? Golden eagles can have 7 to 8 foot wings, and humans are terrible at estimating size, especially of flying objects against a featureless sky. But here's the problem. Many Thunderbird witnesses are experienced outdoorsmen, pilots, and hunters, who know what eagles and condors look like. They're adamant this was different, and 10 feet doesn't explain reports of 20, 30, or even larger wingspans. That's not a little off. That's double or triple the size. Verdict explains some sightings, but not all. Theory 2. Prehistoric survivor Pterotornis. Now we're getting interesting. Pterotornis was a real prehistoric bird of prey that lived in North America until about 10,000 years ago. Its wingspan, up to 12 feet. Some related species, like Argentavis from South America, reach 20 to 26 feet. Could a population have survived in remote regions? We have precedent for this. The coelacanth, a fish thought extinct for 66 million years, was found alive in 1938. The Wollemi pine tree, extinct for millions of years, was discovered in Australia in 19... So it's not impossible, but here's the catch. Birds that size need massive amounts of food. Pterotornes fed on carrion and large prey. A breeding population would need hundreds of individuals. We'd find bones, feathers, nests, something, and we haven't. Verdict? Fascinating theory, but evidence is lacking. Theory 3. Escaped exotic birds. This one's surprisingly plausible for modern sightings. Large birds are kept in captivity worldwide. Andean condors, Steller sea eagles, harpy eagles, some have wingspans of 8 to 9 feet. If one escaped from a zoo or private collection, especially in an area where they're not expected, panic and exaggeration could follow. There's also this. Could someone be breeding large raptors illegally? Falconry is a hobby, and some enthusiasts push boundaries. The 1977 Lawndale, Illinois incident. Some researchers suggested it might have been an escaped Eurasian eagle owl, or a very large hawk defending territory. But this doesn't explain historical sightings from centuries ago, long before international bird trade. And it certainly doesn't explain the consistent legends across Native American cultures. Verdict? Explains recent isolated incidents, but not the bigger pattern. Theory 4. Evolutionary throwback. Here's a wild one. What if modern birds occasionally produce throwback mutations, genetic reversions to prehistoric ancestors? This actually happens in nature. It's called atavism. Whales have been born with leg-like appendages. Humans occasionally grow tails. Could a condor or eagle occasionally be born with genes that express larger size? Environmental factors could play a role too. Radiation, chemical exposure, unusual diet. These can cause abnormal growth. The famous Thunderbird Photo description mentioned bat-like wings rather than feathers. What if it was a massively oversized bat? Or a bird with a rare condition affecting feather development? It's possible, but unlikely to create the truly enormous sizes reported. Verdict. Scientifically interesting, but probably not the answer. Theory 5. They're exactly what Native Americans said they are. What if the legends are just true? What if thunderbirds are supernatural entities, not bound by biology as we understand it? Spirits of nature, protectors of the land, beings that exist partially in our world and partially in another. Many Native American traditions don't treat thunderbirds as animals but as spiritual forces closer to gods than creatures. This would explain why we never find bodies, why they appear and disappear without explanation, why they're associated with storms and natural phenomena, why they've been seen for thousands of years without a breeding population. Some researchers propose they're interdimensional, able to phase in and out of our reality. Others suggest they're thought forms sustained by belief itself. Verdict: unprovable but unfalsifiable. If you believe in the supernatural, this makes perfect sense. If you don't, well, it doesn't. So where does that leave us? The truth is, we don't know. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some mysteries are meant to stay mysterious. But before we wrap up, I need to show you something that might change your mind about all of this. Recent evidence that's honestly pretty hard to dismiss. Let's talk about the evidence we do have. Footprints and physical traces. In several cases, massive talon marks have been found on rooftops, in soil, even on vehicles. Some show 3 forward-facing talons and 1 rear, consistent with raptors, but much larger than any known bird. In 2007, researchers in Pennsylvania documented scratches on a barn roof that would require a bird with a grip span of over 14 inches. For comparison, a golden eagle's grip is about 5 inches. Multiple witness sightings. The strongest cases involve multiple independent witnesses seeing the same thing simultaneously. In 2017, near San Antonio, Texas, multiple drivers on Highway 281 reported a giant bird crossing the road. Several pulled over. Descriptions were consistent. Dark plumage, massive size, silent flight. No one coordinated their stories. They didn't know each other, but their descriptions matched. Native American testimony. Here's something that doesn't get enough attention. Native American elders and knowledge keepers don't treat thunderbirds as myth. They speak of them as real, but rare beings that appear during significant times. In 2016, I found accounts of Lakota elders stating that thunderbirds had been seen near Standing Rock during the pipeline protests. Whether you believe that or not, the consistency of these beliefs across generations is striking. Video and photographic evidence. This is tricky. In the age of drones and digital manipulation, every thunderbird video is immediately suspected. But there are a few that are intriguing. Most are too blurry, too distant, or too easily explained as drones, small planes, or camera tricks. But a handful remain unexplained. The frustrating truth: in an era where everyone has a camera, we still don't have definitive proof, which either means they don't exist, or they're extremely good at avoiding clear documentation. Organizations like the Singular Fortean Society and various cryptozoology groups actively investigate Thunderbird reports. They've compiled databases of sightings, interviewed witnesses, and attempted to find patterns. What they've found: sightings cluster around certain geographic areas, Appalachia, the Southwest, the Pacific Northwest, and the Great Plains. Reports increase during storm seasons and periods of environmental stress. Witnesses are often highly credible. Pilots, police officers, wildlife professionals. Most witnesses are reluctant to come forward due to fear of ridicule. That last point is crucial. How many sightings go unreported because people don't want to be called crazy? So have you ever heard of Thunderbird? Is it real? Here's my honest take. The evidence is inconclusive, but too consistent to completely dismiss. Could all sightings be misidentified? Known birds? Possibly, but it requires witnesses to be remarkably bad at observation. Could it be a surviving prehistoric species? The odds are astronomically low, but not zero. Could it be something we don't have a framework to understand yet? Something supernatural, interdimensional, or beyond current science? That's the possibility that keeps me up at night. What I do know is this: thousands of years of consistent legends across dozens of cultures, hundreds of credible witnesses, physical evidence that's never been fully explained, and a world that continues to surprise us with impossible discoveries. The Thunderbird legend persists because it speaks to something primal, the idea that nature is bigger, stranger, and more powerful than we can fully comprehend. Whether it's a 160-foot bird pinned to a barn in Arizona, a creature that tried to carry off a boy in Illinois, or a spiritual force that manifests during storms, the Thunderbird refuses to be forgotten. And maybe that's the most important truth of all. Drop your theory in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most enduring mysteries, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started.